"So, have you updated your will yet?" my son asked casually, just seconds after I told him I had cancer. I didn't cry or beg for his comfort. I just stared at him in silence, gave a slight nod, and offered a chilling smile. He was already planning how to spend my life savings. He had no idea what I was about to make or that his inheritance was about to vanish. I'm standing in my living room. The biopsy report is folded in my jacket pocket. It's been there for 3 hours. I can feel the weight of it every time I move. Stage 3 pancreatic cancer. Aggressive. The oncologist used that word 4 times this morning. Aggressive. 6 to 18 months, he said. Maybe less. I called my son an hour ago. Daniel, my only child. I asked him to come over. I didn't tell him why on the phone. I just said I needed to talk to him about something important. He said he'd be there in 30 minutes. He showed up with his wife, Melissa. I wasn't expecting her, but I should have been. They've been married 6 years now, and in those 6 years I've learned that Melissa doesn't miss an opportunity. She's the type of person who shows up to things uninvited and acts like she was always supposed to be there. They sat on the couch across from me. Daniel looked at his phone twice before I even started talking. Melissa crossed her legs and folded her hands in her lap, like she was sitting in a waiting room. I told them what the doctor said. Stage 3, pancreatic, 6 to 18 months. Daniel nodded. He nodded the way you nod when someone tells you the store is out of your favorite beer. Slow, casual, like it's inconvenient but not devastating. Then he leaned forward, elbows on his knees, and he said it. "So, have you updated your will yet?" Not, "Dad, are you okay?" Not, "What did the doctor say about treatment options?" Not, "How are you feeling right now?" Just that. The will. 5 seconds. That's how long it took him to ask. I just told my son I was dying, and 5 seconds later he wanted to know about my will. Melissa touched his arm. Light, gentle, like she was trying to look concerned, but her eyes were already moving, scanning the room, looking at the furniture, the TV, the shelves. I noticed. I've always noticed things. 32 years on cargo ships teaches you to read people in tight quarters. You learn to see what someone's really thinking when they're trying to hide it. I didn't cry. I didn't shout. I just looked at Daniel for a long moment, and then I smiled. Not a warm smile. Not the kind of smile a father gives his son. A cold smile. The kind that means you've just made a decision. The kind that means everything just changed. "Not yet," I said, "but I'll get to it." Daniel relaxed. His shoulders dropped. Melissa smiled. They stayed for another 20 minutes. We talked about treatment options. They asked if I was going to do chemo. I said I wasn't sure yet. They asked if I'd talk to a specialist. I said yes. They asked if I needed help with anything. I said no. Daniel hugged me at the door when they left. It felt like hugging a stranger. Like hugging someone you used to know a long time ago but don't really recognize anymore. I stood at the window and watched them drive away. Leased Audi, charcoal gray. They'd had it for 8 months. I know because Daniel told me about it when he got it. He was excited. Said it was a good deal. I didn't ask what the monthly payment was, but I could guess. I've been living in the same house for 23 years. Paid off. 1,000 square feet. Needs paint. The gutters are rusted. The driveway has cracks. The Chevy Silverado out front is a 2009. 190,000 miles. Still runs fine. I've never taken a vacation that cost more than $800. Most years I didn't take a vacation at all. When my wife Ellen died 9 years ago, I worked doubles for 3 years straight to keep Daniel in college without loans. He graduated debt-free. He never said thank you. Not once. I walked into the den after Daniel left. I opened the filing cabinet where I keep my paperwork. I pulled out 3 folders. The first folder holds my federal pension statements. I retired from the Merchant Marine 4 years ago after 32 years. Engineering. Cargo ships. Container vessels. Tankers. I've been to 43 countries, and I can't remember half of them because they all look the same from the engine room. The pension deposits automatically every month. $1,800. It's enough. The second folder holds my thrift savings plan. That's the federal version of a 401k. I've been contributing since I started. 32 years. Never touched it. Current balance, $142,000. The third folder holds the life insurance policy Ellen insisted we buy when Daniel was born. She was 26. I was 29. We were young enough to think we were doing something abstract and far away. $85,000 payout. Beneficiary, Daniel Richard Pemberton. I sat down at the kitchen table and read through everything. Then I opened my laptop and logged into my savings account. First Horizon Bank, $52,300. I've been putting $200 a month into it since Ellen died. Just in case. In case of what? I never knew. Now I know. I did the math on a notepad. 142,000, 85,000, 52,000. Total, $279,000. That's what Daniel was counting on. That's what Daniel thought he was getting. I tore the page out of the notepad, folded it twice, and put it in my wallet. I wasn't sure yet what I was going to do, but I knew one thing. Daniel wasn't getting a cent. I didn't sleep that night. I kept thinking about the way he asked the question. Not if I had a will, but if I'd updated it. Like he'd been thinking about it for a while. Like he'd been waiting. Like the diagnosis was just a starting gun. The next morning I called the number on the back of my life insurance card. I told the representative I wanted to review my beneficiary information. She asked if I wanted to make changes. I said not yet, just reviewing. She reminded me that changes could be made anytime online or by mail with a notarized form. I thanked her and hung up. Then I sat at the kitchen table with that notepad again and stared at the number. $279,000. That was Daniel's number. That was what he saw when he looked at me now. Not his father, not the man who raised him. Just a number. I folded the page and put it back in my wallet. 2 weeks went by. I went to my follow-up appointments. I told my old friend Kevin what the doctors had said. Kevin and I worked together on the same ship for 8 years back in the 90s. He lives 3 streets over. He comes by for coffee on Sunday mornings. When I told him about the cancer, he didn't ask about my will. He asked if I was scared. I told him I wasn't. He didn't believe me, but he didn't push. Daniel called twice during those 2 weeks, both times to ask if I'd taken care of the paperwork yet. I said I was working on it. He said good, because you don't want the state getting involved. I told him I'd handle it. He said okay and hung up. Melissa sent me a text on the 2nd week. It said, "Have you thought about selling the house and moving somewhere smaller to reduce stress?" I didn't reply. 3 weeks after the diagnosis, I drove to Wrightsville Beach, 20 minutes east of Wilmington. I'd been looking at real estate listings online the night before. I don't know why. I couldn't sleep. I was sitting in bed with my laptop, scrolling, and I saw it. A small beach cottage, 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, 10 blocks from the ocean, built in 1978, needed work, asking price, $135,000. I called the listing agent the next morning. Her name was Sharon. I told her I wanted to see it. She said she could show it to me that afternoon. The cottage was small, pale blue shutters, cracked driveway. The front yard was overgrown. Inside, the floors were scuffed. The kitchen cabinets were original and ugly. The bathroom had pink tile from the 70s. The backyard was a mess of weeds and wild grass. I stood in the living room and looked out the window. The street was quiet. A few kids on bikes, an older couple walking a dog. I could hear the ocean if I listened hard enough. Sharon asked if I wanted to think about it, get an inspection, maybe see a few other places. "I'll take it," I said. She blinked. "You'll take it?" "Cash offer. $130,000. Close in 2 weeks. Sharon stared at me. Then she smiled. "Let me make some calls." I paid for the house by liquidating my entire thrift savings plan. I knew about the terminal illness exception. The IRS waives the 10% early withdrawal penalty if you're dying. My oncologist had already signed the paperwork, but I didn't want to wait for approvals. I didn't want to depend on timelines I couldn't control. I took the full withdrawal. I absorbed the penalty. I absorbed the taxes. After everything, I had $112,000 left. I used $130,000 to buy the house outright. The rest went to closing costs and realtor fees. The title went into my name, Richard Allen Pemberton, owner. No one else. I didn't tell Daniel. I didn't tell Kevin. I didn't move anything into the house. I didn't even turn the utilities on yet. I just kept the deed in the filing cabinet in my den, under a stack of old tax returns where no one would think to look. But I still didn't know the worst was yet to come. But before I tell you what I did next, I need to ask you something. If your own child looked at you like a bank account instead of a parent, what would you do? Would you forgive them? Would you give them one more chance? Or would you do what I did? Let me tell you exactly how I made sure Daniel would never see a single dollar. The second thing I did was change the life insurance beneficiary. I logged into my account. I downloaded the form. I printed it. I filled it out by hand. I removed Daniel's name from the primary beneficiary line. In its place, I wrote, Coastal Carolina Hospice Foundation. In the secondary beneficiary line, I wrote, Ocean Conservancy. Ellen had chosen Daniel as the beneficiary 31 years ago. She'd been sitting at this same kitchen table when she filled out the original form. Daniel was asleep in the next room. We were young. We thought we were doing something responsible, something abstract and far away. Ellen used a blue pen. She pressed too hard and tore the paper slightly at the corner. I kept the original form all these years because of that small tear. I drove to the UPS store. I had the new form notarized. I mailed it certified mail with tracking. I came home and filed the tracking number in the cabinet. The change went through in 8 business days. I got the confirmation email on a Thursday morning. I printed it. I filed it next to the deed. $85,000. Gone from Daniel's column. Reassigned. The third thing I did was open a new savings account at a different bank. I transferred $45,000 from my first Horizon account into the new one. I set up automatic monthly payments to Coastal Carolina Hospice, $500 a month. The rest I left alone. That left $7,000 in my original account, enough to cover bills and groceries for a few months. After that, my pension would keep coming. I didn't need much. The fourth thing I did was call an attorney. His name was Paul Greer. I found him in the Yellow Pages because I didn't want a referral from anyone who knew me. I told him I wanted a simple will. Everything not already designated to a named beneficiary or institution would go to Coastal Carolina Hospice Foundation. That included the beach house. Paul drew up the will in 3 days. I signed it on a Tuesday afternoon. 2 of his staff witnessed it. I paid the fee in cash, $350. I drove home without telling anyone. I tried calling my granddaughter that evening. Grace. She's 7 years old. I hadn't seen her in 6 weeks. Before the diagnosis, Melissa used to bring her by once a month. After the diagnosis, the visits stopped. Too busy, Melissa said. I called Grace's number. It's Melissa's phone, but Grace knows how to answer it when she sees my name. The phone rang twice and went to voicemail. That meant Melissa had redirected the call manually. I tried again the next morning. This time Grace answered. I heard her voice, small and bright. Grandpa? Then the phone was taken from her. Melissa's voice came on the line, smooth, flat. Richard, this isn't a good time. You can call back later. She hung up. I set the phone down on the kitchen table. I sat there for a while. Then I got up and went to the den and found a piece of paper. I started writing. Not to Daniel, not to Melissa, to Grace. I wrote 2 pages. I folded them into an envelope. I wrote her name on the front. I put it in the filing cabinet next to the deed and the will. I wasn't angry anymore. I was calm. Daniel had shown me exactly who he was. I believed him. That was the gift. Clarity. Daniel called on Saturday. He wanted to come by and help me get organized. I said I wasn't feeling well. Maybe next week. He sighed. Dad, don't wait too long. I hung up. 7 weeks after the diagnosis, Daniel showed up unannounced. Melissa was with him. I was in the backyard pulling weeds when I heard the car door slam. I walked around to the front. Daniel was already at the door, trying the knob. It's open, I said. He turned. Hey, Dad. We were in the area. Thought we'd check in. They weren't in the area. I could tell by the way Melissa stayed in the driveway with her arms crossed, looking at the house, studying it. I let them in. We sat in the living room. Daniel asked how I was feeling. I said fine. He asked if I'd started chemo. I said I'd decided against it. His face tightened. Dad, you can't just give up. I'm not giving up, I said. I'm choosing quality over quantity. Melissa spoke for the first time. Have you talked to a financial planner? You know, about what happens to your assets? I looked at her. My assets are fine. Daniel leaned forward. Dad, we need to talk about this. You've got the house, the pension, the savings. If you don't set things up right, the state's going to take half of it in taxes. I've taken care of it, I said. What does that mean? Daniel's voice had an edge now. Did you update the will or not? I stood up. I need you both to leave. Daniel blinked. What? Leave, I said. Now. Melissa grabbed Daniel's arm. Daniel pulled away from her. Dad, what the hell is going on? I walked to the door. I opened it. You came here to ask about money, not about me. So we're done. Daniel's face flushed. That's not fair. I'm trying to help you. Get out. Daniel stared at me for a long moment. Then he turned and walked out. Melissa followed. I closed the door behind them. I locked it. I stood there with my hand on the knob, listening to the Audi start and drive away. That night, Daniel called. I didn't answer. He called again the next morning. I didn't answer. On the third day, he left a voicemail. His voice was tight, controlled. Dad, I don't know what I did, but we need to talk. Call me back. I deleted it. What I found out next changed everything completely. 2 weeks later, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I answered. It was a woman's voice, formal, professional. She introduced herself as Jessica Hartwell, attorney. She said she was calling on behalf of Daniel Pemberton. Your son is concerned about your mental state, she said. He believes you may be making financial decisions that aren't in your best interest. He's exploring options to ensure you're protected. My hand tightened on the phone. Protected. That's the word she used. Protected. Tell my son I'm fine, I said. And tell him if he tries to file for guardianship or conservatorship, he'll lose. There was a pause. Mr. Pemberton, he's not trying to hurt you. He's worried. He's worried about his inheritance, I said. And you can tell him it's gone. I hung up. The call shook me. I sat down at the kitchen table. I opened my laptop. I searched for Adult Guardianship North Carolina. I spent 2 hours reading. The law was clear. A court could appoint a guardian if the person was found incapacitated. But I wasn't incapacitated. I had cancer. But I was lucid, competent, capable. My oncologist had already documented in my chart that I had decision-making capacity. Still, the fact that Daniel had tried, the fact that he'd called a lawyer, the fact that he was trying to take control of my life while I was still living it. I closed the laptop. I sat in the dark kitchen for a long time. I thought about Ellen, the way she used to sit across from me at this same table, drinking tea, talking about Daniel's report cards, his baseball games, his college plans. She'd been so proud of the boy he'd been. I wondered what she'd think of the man he'd become. I decided she already knew. That's why she died first. I got up. I walked into the den. I opened the filing cabinet. I pulled out the deed to the beach house. I held it in my hands. Richard Allen Pemberton, owner, no one else. The phone rang. I looked at the screen. Daniel. I didn't answer. I put the deed back in the cabinet, next to Grace's letter, and I went to bed. 4 months passed. The conservatorship petition went nowhere. Daniel filed it. The court reviewed it. The judge read my oncologist's documentation. No evidence of incapacity. The petition was dismissed. It cost Daniel $1,100 in legal fees. It accomplished nothing. Daniel didn't call after that. Neither did Melissa. I heard from Kevin that they'd been asking around town about my financial situation, asking if I'd sold anything, asking if I'd made any big purchases. Kevin told them he didn't know, which was true. I hadn't told him about the beach house. I was getting weaker. The cancer was doing what cancer does. The doctors had been right about the timeline. 6 to 18 months. I was at month 10. I could feel it. The tiredness. The weight loss. The pain that came and went but never really left. I called Coastal Carolina Hospice. I told them I wanted to set up care. They sent a nurse to evaluate me. Her name was Angela. She was in her 40s. Calm. Professional. She didn't ask why I was alone. She just did her job. I told her about my intentions, about the donations, about the beach house. She listened. She took notes. She said they'd be ready when the time came. I asked her if she thought I was crazy, giving everything away, leaving nothing to my son. She looked at me for a long moment. Then she said, I think you're the sanest person I've met in a long time. 6 months before I died, I moved to the beach house. Kevin helped me carry a few boxes and a chair. He didn't ask why I was moving. He just helped. That's the kind of friend Kevin is. The house was small, quiet. I could hear the ocean if I opened the windows. 2 blocks away. Close enough. I spent my mornings on the back porch, drinking coffee, watching the light change. I spent my evenings the same way. Bourbon instead of coffee. The sky turning pink and then dark. Angela came 3 times a week. She checked my vitals, adjusted my medications, brought me groceries when I couldn't drive anymore. She never asked about Daniel. I never brought him up. I thought about calling Grace one more time, but I didn't. I'd already written her the letter. That was enough. In that moment, something inside me died, and when that happens, there's no going back. Daniel found out I'd moved. I don't know how. Maybe someone in town told him. Maybe he drove by the house in Wilmington and saw it was empty. He called. I didn't answer. He called again. I didn't answer. On the third call, I picked up. "Where the hell are you?" His voice was sharp, angry. "I moved," I said. "Moved where?" "Somewhere quiet." "Dad, what are you doing? Why didn't you tell me?" "Because you don't need to know." There was a long silence. Then, "Are you trying to punish me?" "No," I said. "I'm trying to die in peace." "What does that mean?" "It means I'm done, Daniel. I'm done with the questions. I'm done with the lawyers. I'm done with you pretending to care about me when all you care about is what I'm leaving behind." "That's not true." "Yes, it is." Another silence. Longer this time. "You changed the beneficiaries, didn't you?" Daniel's voice was quieter now, almost defeated. "Yes." "Where did the money go?" "None of your business." "I'm your son." "Then act like it." I hung up. He didn't call back. Not that day, not the next week, not the week after that. But 2 months later, I got a letter. It came to the beach house. I don't know how he got the address. The envelope had Daniel's return address on it. I almost threw it away without opening it, but I didn't. Inside was a single page, handwritten. Daniel's handwriting, messy, slanted. It said, "Dad, I know you're angry. I know I screwed up, but you're my father. You're the only parent I have left. And I don't understand why you're doing this. I don't understand why you're shutting me out. If I hurt you, I'm sorry. But please don't leave things like this. Please call me. Please let me see you before it's too late. Daniel." I read it twice. Then I folded it and put it in the drawer next to my bed. I didn't call him. I didn't write back. Because it was already too late. It had been too late the moment he asked about the will. Everything after that was just noise. Angela found the letter a week later when she was helping me organize my medications. She read it. She didn't say anything for a while. Then she asked, "Are you going to respond?" "No," I said. "Why not?" "Because he doesn't mean it. He's scared. He's trying to fix things because he knows he's losing. But he's not sorry. He's just desperate." Angela nodded. She didn't argue. She just put the letter back in the drawer and changed the subject. But the letter stayed with me. I thought about it at night. I thought about Grace, about Ellen, about the boy Daniel used to be, the one who'd bring me drawings from school, the one who used to sit on my lap and ask me to tell him stories about the ships. That boy was gone, and I didn't know when he'd disappeared, but he had. 3 months before I died, Melissa showed up at the beach house, alone. I don't know how she found the address. I was sitting on the back porch when I heard the car. I looked up. She was standing at the gate. "Richard," she said, "can we talk?" I didn't say anything. I just looked at her. She opened the gate and walked into the yard. She sat down on the steps leading up to the porch, not next to me, just close enough to talk. "Daniel doesn't know I'm here," she said. "Good. He's a mess, Richard. He can't sleep. He's convinced you hate him." "I don't hate him." "Then why are you doing this?" I looked at her, really looked at her. She was wearing jeans and a plain shirt, no makeup. Her hair was pulled back. She looked tired. "You know why?" I said. She nodded, slowly. "The will?" "Yes. It was my idea," she said. "Not his. I pushed him. I told him he needed to ask. I told him it was important to get things organized. It was me, not Daniel." "Daniel's a grown man," I said. "He made his own choice. He loves you." "No, he doesn't. He loves what he thought I had. There's a difference." Melissa looked down at her hands. "I'm sorry," she said. "I'm sorry we made you feel like that. It's too late." "I know." She stood up. She walked back to the gate. She stopped and turned around. "Grace asks about you," she said. "All the time." I didn't say anything. "She misses you." "I miss her too." Melissa nodded. Then she left. I sat on the porch for a long time after that, watching the light fade, thinking about Grace, about the letter in the filing cabinet, about the life I was leaving behind. And it only gets worse from here. I died on a Tuesday morning in April, 14 months after the diagnosis. The oncologist had been close, 6 to 18 months. I made it to 14. Angela found me. She'd come for her regular visit. I was in bed, peaceful, no pain. The hospice had kept me comfortable in those last weeks. I'd asked for that, No heroics, no hospital. Just let me go. Angela made the calls. She notified Coastal Carolina Hospice first. They'd been expecting it. They had my instructions. Cremation, no service. They took care of everything. Then she called Daniel. He answered on the second ring. Angela told me later that he didn't say much. Just asked when, asked where, asked if I'd been alone. Angela said yes, he'd been alone. Daniel asked if I'd left anything for him. A message, a letter, anything. Angela said no. That was a lie. There was the letter for Grace, but that wasn't for Daniel. So Angela told him no. Daniel drove to the house in Wilmington that afternoon. The house I'd lived in for 23 years. The house where I'd raised him, where Ellen had died, where I'd sat at the kitchen table and calculated how much he thought I was worth. He stood on the front porch. He tried the door. It was locked. He looked in the windows. The furniture was still there. The TV, the shelves, everything looked the same. But it wasn't his. It belonged to Coastal Carolina Hospice Foundation. I'd signed it over 8 months earlier as a life estate donation. They held the title. I'd held the right to live there until I died. When I moved to the beach house, I'd relinquished even that. The house was theirs. Completely. Daniel didn't know that yet. He called a locksmith, got into the house, went through the rooms, looking for something. Anything. He found the filing cabinet in the den. He opened it. He found the deed to the beach house. He stared at it for a long time. He'd never known it existed. He found the life insurance beneficiary form. He read it 3 times, like he couldn't believe it. Coastal Carolina Hospice Foundation, Ocean Conservancy. He found the will, everything to the Hospice Foundation. He found the envelope with Grace's name on it. He held it in his hands. He didn't open it. He told himself it was because it wasn't addressed to him. Maybe that was true. He sat in the den for 2 hours, just sitting, not moving, not crying, just sitting. The conservatorship petition had cost him $1,100. The lawyer's consultation, the filing fees. The court dismissed it before I died. No evidence of incapacity. Melissa wanted to contest the will. Daniel called 2 lawyers. Both told him the same thing. The changes had been made while I was alive and competent. No fraud. No undue influence. I'd simply decided to give my money to someone else. It was legal. It was final. The savings account had $7,100 in it. That was all. The pension stopped the month I died. The life insurance went to charity. The house went to charity. The beach house sold 4 months later. The proceeds went to the Hospice Foundation. They used it to build a new patient wing. They put a small plaque in the hallway with my name on it. Richard Allen Pemberton, donor. Daniel never saw it. He never went looking. Kevin went to the beach one day, 6 months after I died. He drove past the cottage on Ocean Boulevard. There was a tire swing in the front yard. A young family had bought it. 2 kids. He could hear them laughing from the street. He thought about me sitting on that back porch, drinking coffee, watching the sunrise. He'd helped me move there. He'd carried the boxes and the chair. He'd never asked why. He'd just helped. The last time Kevin visited, a few days before I died, I handed him an envelope. Inside was a check for $5,000 and a note. The note said, "For helping me move, and for not asking questions." Kevin tried to give it back. I refused. "Buy something stupid," I said. "I won't be around to see it, but I want you to have fun." Kevin still has the note. He keeps it in his wallet, folded next to a picture of the 2 of us on a cargo ship in 1993, both of us younger, sunburned, smiling. Angela scattered my ashes in the ocean on a Tuesday morning at dawn, alone, because that's what I asked for in my instructions. Daniel got nothing. Not the house, not the savings, not the insurance, nothing. And I made sure of it, not because I was cruel, but because he'd asked the wrong question, and I'd given him the only answer that made sense. What comes next is going to leave you speechless. Grace is 9 years old now, 2 years after I died. She still has the letter Angela mailed to her. She read it twice the day it arrived, once in the morning, once at night. She keeps it in her drawer under a stuffed rabbit. She didn't tell her parents. The letter says, "Grace, you are the only part of this family I will miss. Your grandmother would have loved the person you're becoming. Be kind, be strong, and remember that people will always show you who they are if you pay attention. I love you, Grandpa." Daniel and Melissa are still in the same house, still driving the same leased Audi, still making minimum payments on the credit cards. They talk about downsizing sometimes, but they never do. Daniel doesn't talk about me much. When people ask, he says his father got sick and passed away. He doesn't say more than that. He doesn't mention the will. He doesn't mention the money. He doesn't mention the beach house he never knew existed. Sometimes late at night, when Melissa is asleep, Daniel goes into the garage and sits in his car. He thinks about the last conversation we had, the one where I told him to act like a son. He replays it over and over, looking for the moment where things could have gone differently. But there was no single moment. It was all of them. Every question about money, every visit that felt like an appraisal, every time he looked at me and saw a balance sheet instead of a father. The Hospice Foundation sends Daniel a newsletter twice a year. It has my name in it. Richard Allen Pemberton, donor, major contributor. They built the patient wing with the money from the beach house sale. 22 beds, private rooms, large windows overlooking a garden. Daniel throws the newsletters away without reading them. Every time. Kevin drives past the cottage sometimes. The tire swing is still there. The family painted the shutters white, fixed the porch railing. The yard is clean and green. On weekends you can hear the kids playing. He thinks about the note I gave him. Buy something stupid. He bought a boat, a small one, nothing fancy. He takes it out on Saturdays. He named it Ellen, because I would have liked that. The beach house sold for $168,000. After closing costs and fees, the foundation cleared $154,000. Combined with the Wilmington house sale and my remaining assets, the total donation came to $293,000. More than Daniel thought I had, because I'd always lived small, died small. He never knew the difference. Grace asks about me sometimes. Daniel tells her I got sick and went away. She nods. She doesn't ask more, but she goes to her room and reads the letter again. And she remembers. The plaque in the hospice hallway is small, brass. It says, Richard Allen Pemberton, 1963-2027. In gratitude for a life of service and a gift of healing. 22 people have died in that wing since it opened. All of them in private rooms. All of them with windows overlooking the garden. All of them with family who had time to say goodbye. Daniel never went to see it, but Grace did. She went with a friend's family when the friend's grandmother was in hospice care there. She saw my name on the plaque. She stood in front of it for a long time. She didn't tell anyone who I was. She just stood there, reading, remembering. Then she went outside to the garden. There's a bench under a tree. She sat down. She pulled the letter out of her pocket. She'd brought it with her, folded small, worn at the edges from being read so many times. She read it again, and she understood. The tire swing is still there. If this story made you feel something, hit that subscribe button. You won't regret it. And if you think what happened to Richard was intense, wait until you see what's coming next. Click on the story on your screen right now. Trust me, you need to hear this one.